River Edge, at the River Edge Library, 685 Elm Avenue, regular meeting, 7 p.m. Ask all to stand for a moment of silent reflection for all the places in the world that are hotspots, to pray for the civilians as well as the combatants, as well as all who are affected by these decisions of our world leaders. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's see. Statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 11, 2024 of its location, date, and time to the town news and the record, and by posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and borough website, filing notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilwoman Chelsea.
Here.
Mr. President, Montana Cohen and Councilwoman Controller are absent with prior notice. Councilwoman Malauulu.
Here.
Councilman Benson.
Here.
Councilman Glass.
Here.
Mayor Papaleo.
Here. Okay, we're first going to open to the public on any item on the agenda, but only the agenda. We give 2 minutes to each person who may wish to make comments or ask a question. Could I have a motion and a second to open to the public on comments on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
There is no one in the council chambers present with us now, but we have, it looks like 3 people virtually. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand using the raised hand button. And we will give you about, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 seconds. See if anybody has something they wish to bring up.
Does not look like it.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Give it a moment more. Okay, could I have a motion and a second to close the public on any item on the agenda?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, there are monthly reports on file. Land Use Board January meeting. The public is free to call the clerk and get a copy, or come in and get a copy. First reading ordinance. Could I have a motion and a second for a first reading motion? Let's just do this somewhat organized by Councilwoman Kaufman and second by Councilwoman Claudiana. Motion that the following ordinances be introduced and passed on the first reading and setting March 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard, as the date and time, and both the River Edge Library as the place and Zoom as the virtual platform for the hearing of said ordinance. Ordinance 24-04. Can I move them as a group?
Yes, you can, but you have to still read them in full.
Okay.
And by the title in full.
Yes, 2404, an ordinance to amend Part 2 General Legislation, Chapter 416 zoning of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge to establish the cannabis overlay zone. Ordinance 24-05, an ordinance amending Part 2 General Legislation, Chapter 268 licensing of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge. Ordinance 24-06, an ordinance creating Part 1 Administrative Legislation, Chapter 92, taxation of the cannabis establishments of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge. Could I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
This is debatable, but it is not open to the public. Is there debate at this point? Inquiry,
I wanted to make a move to amend one of the ordinances slightly.
okay, which ordinance is that?
I move to amend ordinance 2404 to include Sunday as well in the hours of operation. Our legal counsel realized that the county blue laws do not include cannabis, and other towns in Bergen County are open.
Very good. Could you tell me the section that it might be? We'll take a moment to find it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Section E H.
It is section E, subsection H
Page 6.
of page 6 of 8.
Yes.
And it would change from Monday through Saturday to Sunday.
Yes.
Could I have a second to amend? This would be for 24-04.
04.
Could I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is open to debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, I'm calling a question on the amendment and the amendment only. And because this is a change, and because the cannabis ordinance is an ordinance of some public interest, though it does not require a roll call vote, I am going to call it as a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilwoman Caplan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Malauulu,
Yes.
Councilman Benson,
Yes.
Councilman Glass.
Yes.
Okay, we are now back to the main motion, which is to move as a first reading 24-04, 24-05, 24-06 with a setting March 25th of 2024 at 7 PM or soon thereafter to be heard as a second reading. So having said that, it has been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate?
I have a few questions and comments, typos and stuff,
Absolutely.
but one of significance, I guess. So I can just, is it okay to just give my markup regarding typos to the attorney later?
Well, they have to be discussed publicly,
okay,
and if
okay.
they are non-substantive, correct? We can then, we can continue with the motion.
That's correct, although at the time of introduction, it's a simple matter just to amend it if there's something more serious involved.
Okay, very good. Mr. Glass, Councilman Glass, would you please give us ordinance first, page second, and then reference to section by either number or letter?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. 2404,
Okay, everyone, let's turn to 2404. Go ahead.
page 2.
Correct. Go ahead.
Third whereas,
Go ahead.
I think second line, it should be cannabis establishment, not establishments.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That's very minor. I would not even,
Okay, very good. So that
Gets
one,
better, it gets better.
all right, so that one, go ahead, keep going.
Page 5, just above the start of section E, I believe that should be plant, not plan.
Just before E, so at the
At the
end,
bottom of the page.
the cannabis usable and it should be plant.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
okay, just.
What's your last name?
What? RUPP.
Mr. Rupp,
Okay,
plan and plant. Is that a major?
mine, it's the last one, it's the.
Yeah, roots of the plant.
Plant, yes. No, that's a minor one too.
Very good. Councilman?
Okay, this might be a little more substantive. So 1E, right under that, still on page 5. All other permitted uses located within the COZ shall follow the underlying zoning regulations. Should cannabis establishments also follow the zoning regulations, the underlying zoning regulations? I would think so, since they're underlying.
No, I don't believe so, and that's why this is an overlay zone. So essentially what this paragraph does is establish the rules and regulations for the overlay zone. And this paragraph says any other use, right, is
Yeah.
governed by the underlying zone.
Oh,
Right,
so
so-
it's referring to our normal uses.
The normal uses, right, so.
Does that satisfy you?
Yes.
So
although I
we'll
don't-
strike that
so-
one
so
as not unnecessary?
My concern is that it's clear that the cannabis establishment needs to follow also the existing ordinances affecting the underlying.
And my recollection is there's another paragraph that actually says that, so.
I thought so,
it's
Okay,
there.
okay.
And I don't know if it's in this particular ordinance or another one.
Okay.
But I read through all three very carefully too, and I was pretty certain that it did. It might be in 2406, but I'm not sure.
looking for something that says essentially except as modified herein, but if not, we can add that.
Well, I don't think we
Good.
can exempt them from the other,
No, this is a conditional use, so you've established certain conditions for this use.
mhm.
Where you haven't established a condition that varies the underlying zone, normally the underlying zone governs.
Yes,
So normally the type of clause that should be in here then is except as otherwise modified herein.
Right,
When
so can we add that?
we can add that,
And
and
where would we add that?
I would add that as a letter R, right,
What page?
on page 7.
Page 7, everyone? And so we have just above section 2, letter R, and that language would be?
Except as modified herein. Cannabis establishments. Now. It's the same wording,
Singular though, right?
is that,
The cannabis establishment.
well. Here I would keep it plural because it's. In general, right, but. Just wanna make sure we apply the same exact wording here. Shall follow. The underlying zoning regulations.
thank you.
All right, because this is substantive and not minor, is there any objection from anyone on council? To this modification? All right, so we're still working with the modifications as a group instead of in piecemeal. Councilman Glass.
And Mayor, I apologize, I have a couple more.
No, please do not apologize.
Okay.
This is what we're supposed to be doing.
Top of page 6, paragraph 2A.
All right, so we're going back a page.
Well, we skipped to 7, but I was on 5, so now.
Yes, you're right.
Sorry.
We skipped because we were adding language at that point.
Right.
So we're on page 6, and 2A, go ahead.
So the last sentence of that article, all other classes of cannabis licenses not specifically permitted to operate in the COZ are strictly prohibited from operating anywhere in the borough. Can we strike all other classes of cannabis licenses and just make it all classes of cannabis licenses? I think that's what we want to say.
Mr. Rupp?
All classes of cannabis
Yeah.
licenses not specifically permitted to operate in the COZ are strictly prohibited from operating anywhere in the borough.
Well, it's really anywhere else in the borough, right?
Agreed.
Because they're permitted in the cause zone.
Right, not specifically permitted to operate in the cause zone, are strictly prohibited. Yeah, I think elsewhere would be better.
So,
So what if we do anywhere else and just put down then all strike other classes of?
okay, we're on the second to last line. We're at the last sentence. We're striking after the sentence begins, all other classes of cannabis licenses. We're striking other classes of.
Right, so it will read, all cannabis licenses not specifically permitted to operate in the cause are strictly prohibited from operating anywhere else in the borough.
Thank you.
And we are adding the word else after the word anywhere in the last line of course, of the last sentence before the prepositional phrase in the borough. Is there objection to that change? Hearing none, we're still working as a group. Keep going.
Article I, under conditions as well, towards the bottom of that page. I believe, right before the full colon, that second main entrance should be deleted. So it's not from main entrance to main entrance, it's, for example, if you look at, little I, distance shall be measured in a straight line from the center of the entrance of the cannabis establishment to the closest point of the disclosed property line.
Well, it's from main entrance of the cannabis establishment to the main entrance of those other uses.
Well, it says to the closest point of the disclosed property line.
Okay, well, I think what they're really talking about is the distance, that might be a inconsistency then, but I think that sentence means That's an inconsistency, because it really talks, the distances they're talking about is main entrance to main entrance as opposed to property line.
I agree, should it be the distance?
one or
shall
the
be
other,
measured
yeah.
As follows?
Just see if there's any other uses here. Well, then we would have to, if we just say as follows, the difficulty is that paragraph I is limited to school property line, and we're also doing this to
Mr. Rupp, do you?
early
consider-
learning centers, daycare centers, residential care home.
I agree.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't-
sorry,
I
that, I'm
think the
sorry,
whole
I'm
thing
sorry,
is-
you're right, those are not school uses, so again, if we just say as follows, I think that will take care of it.
But isn't this language repetitive from state statute and regulations? We're not creating these standards. The state has already created these standards, correct?
Well, I can check, I do have a copy of the state regs to verify.
Well, wait, let's talk about time management. Is the correction that you've just suggested a simplified, a simple correction that we could move on from?
Yes, essentially, what it's really accomplishing is instead of from the main entrance to main entrance, it's main entrance to property line.
Right,
That's
my goal is
essentially-
not to change the meaning, just to make the meaning clearer.
Yes, so what would you be suggesting, Mr. Rupp?
I think that what's suggested is that the last sentence of I, large I, capital I, the distance shall be measured as follows. Right?
So we will be deleting from main entrance to main entrance and replacing it with as follows. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there any objection on council? Hearing none? Councilman Glass.
Thank you, Mayor. Almost done, I apologize.
Not yet, please don't apologize. You're doing the right thing.
Page 7, Article J, last sentence, I think it should be be no, not be no.
Right,
Okay, so this is,
space, essentially. There should be should be a space between.
and the no is N-O, not K-N-O-W for those who are listening online.
Okay.
Okay, so there shall be space, no cannabis display in the retail floor area.
Correct.
All right, is there any objection to that? All right, let's move on. Councilman Glass.
Mayor, I'm gonna skip if it's okay.
Absolutely.
To 2406.
Let's move to 2406.
It's a question, section 92-3, which is on page 3 of 7.
Actually, no, stop. We have amendments. Councilman, please move your amendments. Just simply say so moved. You move your amendments, say so moved.
So moved.
The amendments have been moved. Is there a second to the amendments?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. We are now voting on the amendments and the amendments only to 24-04. All, this is a cannabis, this is an important, so we will do a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Thompson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mallari,
Yes.
Councilman Benson,
Yes.
Councilman Glass.
Yes,
Councilman Glass, do you have another ordinance that you would like to ask a question and make a correction to?
thank you, Mayor. 2406, section 92-3.
Page?
I'm sorry, page 3 of 7, article B1. It's a question. I'm just wondering if this is a typo. Every medicinal cannabis dispensary. Should that be
What do you think that should be, Council?
cannabis establishment? Every cannabis establishment has to find in our ordinance.
Yeah, because we don't have a medicinal cannabis.
No, but I think it's referring to the state statute and regulations for municipal cannabis dispensaries. I don't know, it's Mr.
Well, it's actually, this is not drafted by us, this is drafted by special counsel, but I believe that reference probably should just be cannabis establishments, since the purpose of this is to ensure that you have access to verifying the amount of the tax payment.
So, Mr. Rupp, what are you recommending as a change?
Instead of every medicinal cannabis dispensary, it would be every cannabis establishment.
Okay, so this would be 92-3, item B1. And the first sentence would be changed from every municipal cannabis dispensary, the beginning of the sentence, the subject of the sentence, to every cannabis establishment. All right, any others for, is there any objection on council? All right, Councilman Glass, is there any other question for this particular ordinance?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, could I have a motion, would you please, I assume you want to make this, this change a motion. Would you please, make it a motion by saying so moved?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
We are now voting on the amendment to 24-06, correct? Everyone?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Calhoun,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mallari,
Yes.
Councilman Benson,
Yes.
Councilman Love.
Okay, now we're back to the main motion, which is to move as a first reading. Ordinances 24-04 through 24-06. With a first reading setting March 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or there sooner as the second reading. Here at the River Edge Library and on the Zoom virtual platform. Could I have, it's been moved and seconded already. We are open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none. Sorry.
I do have some questions on 2405.
Okay. Okay.
Go as quick as I can. I just want to, I guess this is for the mayor and council. So.
What page?
I'm sorry, page 2, top. Starting kind of with A3. So, we're gonna prorate if, there's an application that's submitted after June 1. I'm not crazy about that. Just want to float that up. And then the late fees, $100 shall be charged for renewal licenses which are not paid on or before February 1. An additional $75 shall be charged for each month thereafter. I'm wondering if we could consider increasing those a bit.
So let's deal with them in order number 3. It is not unusual in our ordinances or in other towns' ordinances, please correct me, Mr. Rowe, to prorate first time application. And a first time application means does not mean if this particular one failed. It means we had a business was established and then it closed and another business wished to get the license. They would not be a first time. This is simply because it's going in effect and they cannot get the benefit of a full year because we haven't passed any, and there's no way they can do that. So I don't think that that's unreasonable. I find it to be very reasonable, but I'll open it to the council for debate. Hearing no debate, we're going to maintain A3 as written. And let's move to late fees. What would you you consider an appropriate late fee?
Thank you, Mayor, for asking that. You know, my understanding is this is going to be a $20 million a year or potentially a $20 million a year business. I think we're trying to incentivize on-time payment. You know, with that in mind, $20 million, considering that perspective, I don't know that $75 a month is going to provide adequate incentive.
Well,
So I would suggest $1,000.
so late fee of $1,000 and an additional 1,000 for every each month afterwards
Agreed.
is and so that is what he's suggesting. Mr. Rupp, how would that stand if that was brought to court as could that be challenged?
Okay, well, first of all, anybody with a filing fee can challenge anything, so keep in mind it could always be challenged. The real question is within the regulatory scheme, is this something which is deemed to be unreasonable? There's not a plethora of case law. In fact, there's no case law on this thus far. So I know of no case that would specifically say that you can't charge a late fee. The question is, what's reasonable? Keep in mind, it doesn't go to the license fee itself, because that license fee is still, right? I guess the argument is, what's the interest that one could get on a $15,000 annual license fee, right? Because that's the benefit of delaying it, right? So that is, it seems to me, the minimum measure, right? In other words, let's do away with the incentive, because obviously a dollar not paid on
Is that
time
it, or is
is
there
a,
also a punishment aspect?
right? Well, punishment aspect is a different animal,
Okay.
okay? Keep in mind, failure to comply can also result in revocation.
Right, yeah.
So enforcement's a different issue.
After that.
This is really, the late fee is really designed to offset the incentive of the delay, right? Now, I'm not quite sure what interest rates will be.
Well, I
but-
just did 15,000 divided by 12 months.
Okay.
And then multiplied that by 0.02, which would be 2%. So at 2%, it's $25. So 4% is $100.
Okay,
And maybe that's why the 100 was chosen.
thank you.
So do you withdraw
Yes, thank you, Mike. But to Council's point, in, on page 426.831, paragraph B, when he was, referencing, the ability to revoke a license.
we're on page 4.5, correct?
Correct. I
Uh,
don't see as the reason for cause failure to pay licensing fee.
Okay, which paragraph are we on? I'm sorry.
So
A, I assume?
I don't see it anywhere on 268-31 revocation of license causes. And I'm suggesting that failure to pay the licensing fee should be a cause.
Oh, you're saying that we would add a 6 to make it an A6. Are you saying that?
I'm not sure, that sounds good.
That's your question,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Root.
I believe that, let me just see if there was. A violation of any provision of this article, so that would include failure to pay the fee.
Okay. Does that satisfy?
Yes, thank you.
Any other?
Couple of typos, again, I can just hand them over.
No, we
Okay.
wanna, this is not your normal ordinance.
Okay,
This-
okay. On page 3 of 5, Article 268-29. Second sentence, the licensee shall have the license in his possession at all times.
Mr. Root,
That's correct.
is there objection? Hearing none, continue.
Section 268-30, paragraph B, first sentence, every cannabis establishment licensed to operate in the borough shall be subject to inspection.
What does it say now? By?
The word "to" is left out.
Okay,
Correct.
so we added shall and now we've added a to different paragraphs. Is there objection?
No.
Seeing none, hearing none? Councilman Glass?
Thank you for your patience and entertainment.
No, your detailed oriented review is well appreciated and grateful. Would you make a motion, are you making a motion to those amendments?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, it is open for debate. Is there debate on the amendment? And this is an amendment to ordinance 24-05, correct? And there is no debate. Roll call.
Councilwoman Yelsey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mallon-Larry,
Yes.
Councilman Benson,
Yes.
Councilman Glass.
Yes.
Okay, now we're back to the main motion, yes? We're good? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, we're back to the main motion. It is open for debate. Is there any debate on moving ordinances 24-04, 24-05, and 24-06? As amended, for first reading today and setting March 25th, 2024 at 7 PM or soon thereafter. is a date for the second hearing. Is there any, I'm sorry, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Roll call.
Councilwoman Falcon,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mallalari,
Yes.
Councilman Batson,
Yes.
Councilman Glass.
Yes.
All right, well, that was good. That was very, very good. Okay, resolutions by consent. Is there any resolution that someone wishes to pull out for a separate consideration before we move them? Okay, could I have a motion from Councilman Benson and a second from Councilman Glass to move resolutions 24-91 through 24-97?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kaufman, as the finance chair, would you please move 24-29? And would one member of the finance committee second it after she moves it?
Resolution 2498, payment of bills at a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the borough of River Edge, county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, held on February 26th, 2024. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund, $456,523.40. General capital fund, $28,792.26. Grant fund, $4,049.13. Trust other, $343.20. Payroll, $25,147.66. Unemployment trust, $11,820.77. Developers escrow, $6,876. Self-insurance trust, $5,494.51. Recreation trust, $4,812.95. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we had a request by Mr. Omar, right? No, Mr. Hassan.
He's not here.
No, I'm sorry.
Someone else.
Someone else. I apologize. Oh, I remember now. Yes, I apologize. About a Ramadan crescent display and lighting, we asked for a legal opinion. Mr. Roop, and has sent a confidential 14-page legal opinion to the council, which I hope the council has a chance to review, but he's going to summarize the findings of that.
We had researched the constitutional issues as to whether the borough of River Edge could authorize the display of a crescent and moon on municipal property to celebrate Ramadan. Briefly, the First Amendment to the United States Constitution provides in pertinent part that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The First Amendment is made applicable to the states by the 14th Amendment. The display of religious symbols on public property is a rather complex legal issue, oftentimes with conflicting cases, all of which are dependent upon their particular fact patterns. Based on my review of the applicable case law, unlike those cases where holiday displays, which include religious symbols, have been upheld, the proposed display does not include any symbols from other religions as a recognition of diversity, nor does it contain any other secular symbols denoting a recognized national holiday. Moreover, the display does not carry a long-term history as the test adopted by some other cases. Accordingly, the display of the crescent and star standing alone on municipal property would not meet the constitutional tests under existing case law.
And so what is your recommendation for us?
My recommendation is that, as proposed, this would appear to be violative of the First Amendment, and therefore that is something that the governing body should not entertain.
Okay. All right, so having heard our legal opinion and given our history, I assume that the council would not wish to move forward with this as it has currently been requested. but it's up to the council. Is there any member of council who would like to make a motion to approve the Ramadan Crescent display and lighting? Hearing none, the issue fails. Doesn't fail, it doesn't, it's not moved, and therefore it is not open for council approval or dismissal. Okay, we have new business and old business. Is there any new or old business that any member of council or administration would like to bring to our attention? Having heard none, we are now open to public comments. Could I have a motion to open to the public on any issue? Could I have a motion from any member of council?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, yes, come on up. Name and address.
Sure. Ron Hussein, Teaneck, New Jersey.
And I think you had spoken to me previously about the concern for appropriate,
Competition, really,
yes,
in the, application process, yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the general concern is that, because site control is a requirement and there's limited opportunities, and even on, ordinance 24.
I should stop you. I want to help you.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is present to the council your concern and then go into the details.
Yeah, generally that, since there's limited locations and there's only one license, and the ordinance itself restricts the number of applications to the limit of number of available licenses, it really only allows one individual to apply, especially since if you do any outreach, you're trying to set any meetings with landlords at this time, they're not taking any meetings because they've kind of communicated that the chance to lease is no longer available.
Okay.
So if that's a concern and we're talking about an open judicious process that's allowing fair competition and also gives River Edge the bargaining power to, get the best deal for themselves that's under, rules and regulations, I'd hope that you guys would consider, one, striking point B4 in ordinance 24-05 that limits the number of applications that you can receive, and two, in the application process, if there is site requirement, I would ask that you would consider a multi-phase approach that does, one, takes a look at the team, the business plan, the community impact plan, and verifies financials so that if that individual or team were to win, it would give them the opportunity, they have the financial means to operate and execute if they were able to win. Individuals who kind of pass that round as per the bar that you guys set internally are then able to win site control and an opportunity to sign a letter of intent with the landlord or something to that extent. I think this is just, it allows more people to participate in the process. It makes it more merit oriented versus whoever is able to already win site control before this process even started or was announced or went to reading, and limits other people from actually participating. Because I just doesn't really feel like it's an equitable process though.
You had sent me an email on this.
I did.
I didn't respond because it's really a public question
Okay,
and it's a council question.
Yeah.
Mr. Rupert, Rob, I'm sorry.
Obviously, site control is a key issue here, right? Just having site control, however, does not in any way guarantee approval of the license by the governing body. So, quite frankly, the governing body can take into account other criteria as well as site control. Should an applicant then not be able to be approved, that would open up site control to other applicants as well that could then apply at that time. The difficulty, given the limited number of licenses and the restricted location, doesn't allow for multiple applications as it, in those municipalities that do have additional licenses in multiple locations.
Mhm.
So there is an inherent limitation here, but that limitation is really not dictated so much by the governing body. It's dictated by a landlord-tenant relationship, which is a private relationship.
Yeah, I completely understand that, and that makes sense. I think ultimately, though, if the decision's being made by the landlord, then what's the point of an open application process? So I understand the purpose of it. I think ultimately, though, if site control is inherent in the application process, I think placement of it can also be included in a multi-phase process where it doesn't make it the end all of everything. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just my general perspective on it, and
Okay.
hopefully you guys can take into consideration.
All right. So that's a little bit more than 2 minutes, but this was not a normal question and required some expert explanation. But I'm gonna give you just 30 more seconds. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's generally it. I think there's a lot of people who've been applying or working this process for years in New Jersey, and it's been very difficult. So when these opportunities do come along, they're very few and far in between. And to get to the table, to get in front of the council is very difficult. So I think that's why, my team, were arguing for a merit-based application process. And as it stands right now, it just doesn't feel that way, but I understand the inherent limitations. So I hope that you guys would expand how you might think about this so that you can optimize what you think might be in the best interest of River Edge in terms of the teams and what they have to offer for the community and the business itself and how they execute on their business plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. All right, is there, yes, we can see that Mr. Singh, I think it is?
Yes, so should I?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Singh, if you could state your full name and address, and the council will recognize you.
Sure. Thank you, Council. Full name is Gurtheg Singh, coming from 110 Regis in Paramus.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up, and I apologize, Mr. Roberts, if I'm paraphrasing inappropriately, but it sounds like you're saying that, or through this process and reading the ordinances, again, to that point where only one application, once it is in, then the application process shall be closed. The council is inherently selecting that one application who likely already and only has site control. So to further the point here, I believe the resolve could be to expand applications to allow an unlimited amount, regardless of site control, if site control is not a particular stomping ground for someone to be deemed a complete and appropriate applicant and license and potential licensee. So why is the council allowing for only one application when you're trying to make this a justifiable, equitable process and bring the best merit-based application forward?
okay, the technical legal questions have been answered, so we're not going to have a back and forth as I permitted last, because we generally don't do that. Is there anything else you want to say before we close, and then I'll ask the council if they wish to discuss it?
Sure thing. Yeah, sorry to make it sound like a back and forth. Not my intent at all. I think the question or the point to being had and discussion to be had is why only one applicant is able to close out the process to make this a democratic, equitable process for everyone to apply regardless of site control.
Okay, and that's time, and we appreciate that. When we close to the public, if the council wishes to debate that or discuss that, they shall. Is there any other member of the public who would like to raise their hand and have 2 minutes?
I don't see any other hands raised.
Let's just give it a moment.
Okay, sure.
Could I have a motion and second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So, it has been suggested during the open public comments that we should consider, amending, the idea of one applicant. And certainly if the council wishes to do that, they can. But Mr. Rupp, am I saying it right?
Well,
Mr. Rupp, we are, just because an applicant comes to us, if we reject that applicant, then a new applicant can come to us.
that is correct. Look, as a practical matter, control of a site
Yeah,
is absolutely essential.
yeah.
So if you were to receive an
Yes.
application without a site, it can't be approved, right? That's the problem.
So it can't move forward.
It can't move forward. And that's the dilemma here because of the limited number of sites that are involved. So, if an applicant has made arrangements with the landlord or owns the land, that's another possibility too. And has a site which is suitable under the ordinance, then they're meeting that criteria. That doesn't guarantee them a license, however,
No,
because the governing body has the right to reject that license on any other number of grounds.
and when Mr. Logano was here, representing, the ordinance, if I remember correctly, I asked him the question, could we simply decline each and every applicant, without ever establishing a license? And he said, yes, I believe. Would you say that that would be essentially correct too? We don't have any obligation to grant a license just because the license is available.
The answer to that is, as a general matter, yes,
Okay,
subject to the overall rule of governing municipalities, which is that municipalities cannot act arbitrarily, unreasonably, or capriciously.
yeah, so if we found that somebody came forward and we found them to be wanting, we could go to somebody else, and if we found them to be wanting, and if there wasn't a third, we had not failed in our obligation.
That is correct.
Does any member of council wish to debate the question of one license? All right, seeing none, is there a council comments? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Well done, everyone. Great job, especially Councilman Glass. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And Mr. Roop, thank you very much.
Okay.
And, okay, we're good.
Everyone's
Thank you.
week.